Tonight, Blaze Bernstein, the name in the headlines so many of you will recognize. The massive search triggered by celebrities and social media.
But now the chilling new details. You may not have heard about this missing college student. The all-new 2020 starts right now.
Who leaves their house without any of their items at night and doesn't show back up again?
This isn't just anybody. This is an Ivy League college student with his whole life in front of him.
Did he run away? Was he injured? Had he been abducted?
Blaze Bernstein disappeared 1 week ago.
Missing while home for winter break.
My dad was just like, we have each other. It's going to be okay.
And there was an immediate firestorm of attention to this case.
Charlie Puth, who put it out there, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
This is the period in which begins your amateur
This is what we're trying to figure out.
You
what's
become a
going on.
sleuth.
We would not have been able to figure it out without the help of kids his age.
I remember showing the police, like, look what I have.
And that's when the whole evening changed.
Blaze Bernstein's phone at that point in time turned off, and I had no more records.
So they've been together, and
Correct.
suddenly Blaze goes dark.
I heard voices raised in the distance somewhere, screaming like.
Blaze's best friend received a text message. I did something really horrible for the story. No one can ever know.
So if you're dealing with a situation like this, you don't want the person who you're hunting to know that you're onto them.
Just help us find my brother.
Well, the search ramping up today for a Lake Forest teen who disappeared while visiting his family over the holidays.
Blaze Bernstein has been missing since Tuesday night.
Police searching by ground with canines and by air with helicopters.
We're hoping that he's just incapacitated in need of some medical assistance.
Anyone with information should contact the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Blaze Bernstein.
Blaze Bernstein.
Blaze Bernstein.
What are your favorite pictures here?
The kids like to goof off a lot, and he would dress up. They loved to dress up. They loved to do puppet shows, and this is him in a school play when he was little. And we spent a lot of time at Disneyland, because it's right here in our backyard.
Oh, yeah.
That's us sitting there. It was a great day.
Memories of much happier times for parents. Gideon and Jeannie Bernstein married in 1992. They moved from Los Angeles to Orange County to raise a family. They have 3 kids. The youngest is daughter Bowie, Jay in the middle, and Blaze, the oldest.
We had a lot of fun raising the kids together. It was fun. And no one can take that away from us, so we still own that.
Blaze Bernstein grew up here in the city of Lake Forest. It's an upper middle class bedroom community about an hour south of Los Angeles, home to about 90,000 people.
Growing up in Lake Forest was really nice. It was kind of inland from the coast, like 30-minute drive from the beach.
It was actually a really quiet residential area. Houses were beautiful, a lot of families there.
When we wanted to start a family, we left Los Angeles with the idea that we'd be moving to a safe suburbia, one of the safest places in the country.
And by all accounts, Blaze is this bright, gifted teenager with a sharp wit and a warm heart.
I've known Blaze since we were babies. Blaze as a kid, besides being very high energy, he was really creative, he was very thoughtful.
Blaze was incredibly bright, curious. He was really a Renaissance young man. I mean, he was interested in everything.
Surrounded by family and friends, Blaze was bar mitzvahed in 2011. That's a Jewish celebration of adulthood on a boy's 13th birthday. It was an occasion especially meaningful to his grandmother.
I did know that his grandmother was from Romania and survived the Holocaust.
I really think that Blaze got it. He was proud to be a Jew, humanistic philosophy, caring about the world and understanding the world's only going to change if human beings change it.
But even though Blaze possessed that understanding, it offered no protection from becoming a target of frequent bullying.
Growing up in Lake Forest was not super easy for him. He was bullied every single day on the bus. He just wanted to get out of the public school system.
And it wasn't just the bullying. Even though Blaze is a good student, he longs for something more.
Go, man, go.
Something that challenged him, not just intellectually, but creatively. And he would find it at OSHA.
OSHA is the Orange County School of the Arts. It is a 7th through 12th charter art school.
In order to get into that school, you have to audition, and about 1 in 10 students who audition actually get into this school. So it's very competitive.
Blaze auditioned for OSHA. He was artistic in every single way possible. He was very creative.
His talents going in were performing arts and writing, and he wanted to move into the creative writing department.
We've had students who wound up professional actors, designers, you know, the writers, the whole thing, musicians.
Among the more famous OSHA alumni are actors Pedro Pascal, class of 1993, who starred in the HBO hit The Last of Us, and Matthew Morrison, a 1997 graduate and star in Fox's popular TV series, Glee.
I want you to listen very closely to the lyrics because I really mean what I'm singing.
Once Blaze got to OSHA, he felt like there was a community there for him. He had a lot of friends. He was very social.
I met Blaze when he was a senior in high school. He shared some of his writing with me, and I wrote a letter of advocacy for his application when he applied early decision to Penn because he was a brilliant writer.
Blaze's exceptional talents got him into the University of Pennsylvania, and he moved across the country to Philadelphia as a pre-med freshman in the class of 2020.
Was he homesick at the start?
I think that the first semester at school was difficult for him in terms of the social life there. He was used to being in a small school. You know, now he's a little fish in a big sea, and I think that he had to come to grips with that.
When I found out that he was going to an Ivy League, I was like, oh, you know, that makes sense.
At Penn, Blaze got involved in Pen Appetit.
Pen Appetit is a student-run magazine for people who are interested in writing and also interested in food.
He knew that those would be his people.
Our photographer for Pen Appetit, he held a photo shoot where we dressed up in our chef's whites and aprons. We brought whisks and knives. We have photos of him, you know, holding the whisk, being surprised. I mean, he was so helpful, and we're so fortunate to have these photos of him.
It was a Tuesday in January, and 19-year-old Blaze was home for winter break. He was in a really good place and looking forward to second semester of his sophomore year, but not before he treated his family to a special meal.
He was baking butternut squash with, you know, sprigs of thyme that were inside them.
He made a turkey.
And he made a...
He took over my job, more or less. I was on vacation, and he was here.
So dinner broke up, I guess, absolutely normally.
It was a quiet night. Didn't hear anything unusual. You know, I woke up the next day and it was a normal morning.
A normal day until it wasn't.
I got up and Blaze's door was closed, and the housekeeper said, "Oh, don't wake him, let him sleep in." And I said, okay. Well, I knew I had a dental appointment with him that day, so I decided I'd wait until my yoga class was over to try to contact him so I wouldn't wake him. And I tried getting hold of him, and he wasn't picking up, he wasn't returning my texts. But I went to the dental appointment thinking he would show up, and I immediately called Gideon, and I said he never showed up for his appointment. And he said, well, are you sure he slept at the house last night? And that's when
when we both kind of freaked out.
I yelled, oh my God.
19-year-old Blaze Bernstein was last seen Tuesday night.
We're hoping to find him and bring him home safely.
My dad called me and was like, hey, like, have you heard anything from Blaze? He's not picking up the phone. It's really weird. Like, just let us know if you hear anything. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
I was at work, so I'd basically run out of my office and jump in the car and drive home as quickly as I can. and just go run upstairs, and his glasses are there, his wallet's there, his keys are there.
Panicked and confused, the Bernsteins were calling everyone they could think of to see whether anyone had seen or heard from Blaze in the last 12 hours.
And what were they saying?
They didn't know anything.
Nobody knew, where his location was.
Well, I found out that Blaze was missing, and it was just really shocking to me because I was like, there was no way that he could have run away. He wasn't that kind of person.
So this is the period in which begins your amateur
This is what we're trying to
investigation.
figure out
You
what's
become
going
a
on.
sleuth.
Yeah.
Well, we had no idea what was going on.
He hadn't slept in the bed.
And, his bags for going back to school were already packed.
You think, well, hanging out with some kids, other teenagers, and forgot to call home. You have to believe that's a defense against the most awful.
When it became dark outside, I think that's when we started to really be super concerned.
One of the first things the Bernsteins thought of is using the Find My app, which allows users to share their location with others.
So did you have a follow my friend on the iPhone?
Yes, we did. We had that, and I saw that the location services were turned off.
So we called the sheriff's department.
They came and they were really downplaying it, like, oh, 19-year-olds, they run away sometimes, but they'll be back.
He was adamant that 100% of the time that these kids are out on a booty call or doing something with,
Of course, we explained that there were some, unique circumstances with regards to, his personal belongings still being here. And so they offered to do a missing persons report.
So a kid disappears without his glasses, his wallet, or his keys. There are people who actually told me about it just in the couple of days after he went missing, who suggested that maybe this was suicide. Did you ever contemplate that?
Never.
Not even close. He was so happy. He was in a great place.
He was in one of the best places I had ever seen him before. That week, he was so happy. He was so excited to go back to school. He was so excited to just have the rest of his life. And so at that point, there was no doubt in my mind, he would never have done that.
Gideon and Jeannie confirmed with Verizon that Blaze hadn't made any recent phone calls. A quick check of his computer revealed no exchanges on iMessage or Facebook DMs. And so with virtually no solid information to go on, the Bernsteins, along with help from their 14-year-old daughter, Bowie, began dipping deeper into Blaze's social media.
We would not have been able to figure it out without the help of kids his age that he grew up with. and our daughter, yes.
I told my parents, I'm like, I can try and help you find everything that you need. I'm really good with Snapchat. I knew the names of a lot of his friends, so I was able to text them and ask them if they knew what was going on.
And that's when the whole evening changed.
Yeah.
When they said, well, what about Snapchat? That's when the light bulb went on. I mean, we were exhausted, but I said, okay, let's try and figure out how to get in.
Snapchat is a free mobile messaging application used to share photos, videos, texts. But what's different about the app is that whatever is shared, including text messages, disappears from the recipient's screen after just a few seconds.
We were lucky because we knew his username because he was connected with our daughter. And the password ended up being one of the ones that we had on our iCloud keychain. So we typed the username, and then we tried that password in, and boom, we're in.
Still, getting into Blaze's Snapchat account was only half the battle. Yes, it might contain a critical record of who Blaze may have been in contact with the night he disappeared, but as the Bernsteins discovered, simply viewing the message might also trigger it to vanish.
At the time, Snapchat worked. If you sent a message, it could only be saved if you purposefully saved it, and it could be deleted by the person who sent it, and it only lasts 24 hours if you don't save it.
And there were so many other pitfalls with this. I mean, if you take a screenshot of these communications because you think you're saving them, well, that alerts the person that sent it to you.
The sender gets an alert.
So if you're dealing with a situation like this, you don't want the person who you're hunting to know that you're onto them.
What you're describing is basically dealing with this digital nitroglycerin that at any moment.
Yes,
could just blow up in your faces. And this is the most important thing in your lives right now.
I had my daughter next to me, and I said, okay, I need you to save, because I know there's a way that you can save it, but I didn't really know how.
What time is it by now?
I don't know. It's like close to 10 o'clock at night, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And we saw that Blaze gave our address out to somebody.
Did you know who?
We didn't know at the time who it was. We saw the name.
I had absolutely no idea who he was. I was so happy that there was somebody who we could talk to that could just help us find my brother.
Bernsteins didn't know the person Blaze sent his address to, but in the hours ahead, the discovery of that person's identity would turn the desperate search for their son upside down.
Hi, this is Blaze's dad. We really need to know what you know. We can't find him.
This is becoming an urgent issue with trying to figure out what really happened to him, and we're going to really need your help on this because you're the last person that probably saw him.
That was not the person that I really expected him to be with.
Who leaves their house without any of their items, at night and doesn't show back up again?
This isn't just anybody. This
Right.
is an Ivy League college student with his whole life in front of him.
Right.
A beautiful life waiting for him.
Hours had passed since anyone had heard or seen Blaze. Did he run away? Was he injured? Had he been abducted? There was no sign of him anywhere. Now, as darkness fell, there was finally a glimmer of hope.
We wanted to make sure that if there was any chance that Blaze was still alive, that we took it. I wanted to ensure that not 1 second was wasted.
And the Bernsteins discovered something else. It was a final text message sent to Blaze at 3 p.m. from his best friend. Hey, I'm really worried about you. Please text me. There was no reply. The Bernsteins frantically reached out to that best friend, who told them Blaze did exchange messages with someone else overnight. Now it seemed that person was their best hope of finding Blaze.
We don't know what the conversations were that led up to his disappearance, so we want that information.
Gideon Bernstein, through his own investigation, found out that there was communication on the Snapchat application. And so he was able to message through direct messaging Sam Woodward.
We didn't know who he was. I was like, we should call him. Like, he definitely knows what's going on. And so I encouraged my dad to call him, and we recorded a call.
We haven't heard from him all day. He missed an appointment today, and then we started getting concerned, and I've been trying to figure things out. So you're the first real clue to the puzzle here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sorry.
I don't know if my dad told me to record it or if I just had the thought that maybe having any sort of evidence that we could hold on to would be able to help us.
I don't mean to put any pressure on you. I know you're a nice young man, but I'm asking you for help on this if you can, if you've got the ability to do that.
Absolutely. This is, I want to find Blaze as much as you do.
During that call, Sam Woodward told Gideon that Blaze suggested they drive to a nearby park to meet yet another one of his friends, but never mentioned that friend by name.
And he said he invited a third friend to come along. So I said, okay.
I didn't want to speak because I didn't want to get involved, but I was listening and to my dad, just ask him questions and go back and forth.
And then did he get out of the car, or what happened?
Yeah, he got out of the car, and I got out of the car too, and I just asked him, who is this guy? And he's just like, you'll find out in a little bit, he's a friend of mine. And then, so I'm just like, okay, Blaze, and I just waited there by the bathroom, and I didn't see where he went.
I was just thinking to myself, this is maybe weirdest, situation that we could be in at this moment. And I remember that phone call went on for a while, too.
I guess I realized, did something happen to him? So I went back. I searched all over for him where I was at the library. I couldn't find him anywhere. And I guess I just figured he might just call me in the morning or just pranking me, but... I'm scared now.
It's a disturbing phone conversation, which now raises more questions for the Bernsteins than it answers.
We were curious to know who this person was, but then we did find out he was a student at OSHA.
20-year-old Sam Woodward and Blaze were former high school classmates at OSHA.
I have known Sam since he was born, kind of grew up alongside of him. I remember excitement, during Sam telling me that he was going to OSHA.
Woodward grew up only 30 minutes away in the wealthy coastal town of Newport Beach.
Sam was joyful. He was a really happy, special kid.
He lived in this house with his parents and a brother who, by all accounts, were devout Catholics and attended church regularly.
Everything we did, all the families we spent time with, were from our church.
I did teach Sam Woodward in acting for the camera in his 10th grade, and I had him for the one semester.
For 10 years, Phil Schwadron taught drama and directing for grades 9 through 11 at OSHA.
He was definitely serious. He didn't crack jokes, didn't laugh a lot, as to my memory.
Sam went to OSHA with me from 7th grade to 10th grade. I would say that he did not necessarily fit into the general OSHA artsy vibe.
We came back for what would have been Sam's 11th grade year, and I said, who have I got this year? And my boss said, yeah, you're going to get them all back except one left the school. Who left the school? Sam Woodward left the school.
I wasn't really surprised that he left. I kind of just thought that he left because he just didn't like it there.
After leaving OSHA, Sam enrolled in Corona Del Mar High School. During that time, he became an Eagle Scout, graduating in 2016. Now, 2 years later, nothing seemed to explain how or why this unlikely pair with seemingly nothing in common ended up together in this park. And now, one safely home, the other nowhere to be found. So now you have this critical piece of information. Do
Yeah.
you immediately call the sheriffs and say,
Yes.
we have something?
Yes, we did.
Yep, right away.
And what's their response?
They come over right away.
They came over,
Okay.
and now it was
And-
serious.
We just gave him the lead of the last person we knew that he had seen.
I remember taking that call and showing the police, like, look what I have. We talked to somebody who said that they know where my brother is.
When I first saw the missing persons report and I was reading the details, some of those details definitely stuck out. So something told me just deep within me that this was unusual. So my then partner, investigator, Jack Ackerman, and I went to the park, probably right around lunchtime on January 4th.
I had a feeling as a mother, it was my intuition that something very bad had happened.
On January 3rd, 2018, the day Blaze Bernstein's family realized he was missing, Blaze's sister Bowie recorded a phone call between her father and 20-year-old Sam Woodward, a former high school classmate who says he was one of two people with Blaze the night he disappeared.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bernstein, but your guess is as good as mine.
Woodward said Blaze made plans for a third person to meet up with them in a neighborhood park that night.
Blaze didn't tell me anything about this guy except that he was from OSHA like us.
Really appreciate you calling me and sharing that info. And is it okay if I reach back out to you if I need some help?
Absolutely. I want to find Blaze as much as you do.
When they were talking about meeting another person, I was like, what other person? Who else would my brother, like, be with?
So you want a water? I got a water. What kind of monster you want?
The next day, Orange County Sheriff's investigators bring in Sam Woodward to ask some questions of their own.
You can leave at any time. You're not under arrest or anything like that, okay? We're just trying to find Blaze. Find Blaze. That's it.
As investigators get to know Sam Woodward, they learn that he was living with his parents and working odd jobs.
My goals in life are I just want to start a family. I just want to have enough money to support my kids. I just want to have a wife who loves me and get a good job and go to college.
Woodward says he recently reconnected with Blaze on social media.
He said something like, Sam Woodward. Now, that's a face I haven't seen in a while.
I'm looking for eye contact. I'm looking for his general comfortability to try to gain a sense whether somebody I feel is telling me the truth or telling me a lie.
At some point during the conversation on Snapchat, you decided to meet up. That is correct.
For Blaze's family, the fact that he went out at all that night was a revelation.
We had dinner actually at the dining room table with everybody. He was supposed to fly back to school. So it was going to be the last time my parents were going to see him for quite a while. There was no indication from him that he was going out that night.
During his interview with police, Woodward said that after he picked up Blaze at his house, they drove around for a while, eventually stopping at Borrego Park.
Borrego Park is in the city of Lake Forest. It's a place where you can take your kids. It also has remote hiking trails that stretch for miles.
At some point, somebody exits the car, right?
Mm-hmm. Did he tell you where he was going? He said he was going to meet the friend that he was talking about.
Just like in that call with Blaze's father, Woodward told officers that Blaze was meeting another friend at the park that night. Woodward says he stayed behind as Blaze walked away and disappeared out of sight.
At one point, I heard voices raised in the distance somewhere, but I mean, that happens to my neighborhood all the time. You hear like girls screaming, like, ah! And all that. And so I didn't really pay much mind to it.
But I wanted him to feel comfortable talking to me, and he was.
Woodward says he looked for Blaze, but eventually gave up and went home.
I mean, I don't know what happened to him, but something must have. All that matters is that we find him and we get him back to his family safe. Yeah, absolutely. Especially her talking to his parents, because his parents are really nice people.
After several hours of questioning, Sam Woodward left. But police, they remained suspicious, so they decided to put him under surveillance.
I'm trying to record it right now.
There was a large team that was deployed into the field, and we followed him anywhere that he went.
And with this growing cause of concern for Blaze Bernstein comes the glare of the media spotlight. The Blaze Bernstein missing persons case is now big news.
The Orange County Sheriff's Department searched the park, but they haven't seen any signs of Blaze.
Blaze was supposed to be in school this morning.
He was supposed to fly back Sunday, go to class today, but instead he's missing.
I remember going with my dog to Borrego Park before and kind of just like walking around to see like, what if I find him here?
Bowie documented that desperate period of time with pictures and videos posted on her Snapchat.
Our congregation went into high gear. We printed flyers with his name and picture and the facts and who to call, and we put them up on bulletin boards and poles all around the city.
At this point, it's now in the hands of the police. But you continue to work.
Yes.
Now you take to social media.
Around the clock. You know, it looked like war games in this house. We had terminals all over the dining room table, and we were all just working.
There was an immediate firestorm of attention to this case. We were absolutely inundated with tips from the public. There were hundreds within the first week, and then that grew exponentially.
Some of our contacts were friends with some of the celebrities that were willing to post it on their social media. And so we had the missing persons flyer out for Blaze on, Kobe Bryant's Facebook page, and Charlie Puth, who put it out there, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So it started to catch a lot of attention.
We were spending every minute talking about it. People were filming in our house, interviewing my parents. Nothing like this ever happened where we were.
Any sign of him, any clothing, obviously him. We're hoping to find him, hoping that he's just incapacitated and in need of some medical assistance so that we can get him and bring him home safely.
There was like this team of people with drones, and they were going throughout Whiting Ranch Wilderness Park, where we were concerned maybe my brother was back there, and maybe there was a mountain lion, or maybe like something happened to him and he was missing or lost.
For the fourth night in a row, the Bernstein family will go to sleep without their oldest son at home.
It was clear as the week wore on that it was more and more dire.
There's a lot of pressure, immense pressure to perform.
Then, on January 9th, with Blaze missing for 7 days now, a discovery which upends the case.
Jack and I were teamed up. Jack said, "Dylan."
You heard it in his voice.
I could hear it in his voice.
We're going to turn now to those new developments in the mysterious disappearance of an Ivy League student.
19-year-old Blaze Bernstein missing while home for winter break.
The Sheriff's Department launched an extensive search with help from the community.
Days had passed since Blaze vanished into the night. The relentless search by police and volunteers had turned up nothing. Just more anguish for the Bernsteins and frustration for authorities.
The Orange County Sheriff's Department searched the park, but they haven't seen any signs of Blaze.
We utilized cadaver dogs. We utilized drones. We had been to Borrego Park and searched that park over and over again with a fine-tooth comb.
On January 9th, a week after Blaze went missing, investigators decided to go back to Borrego Park one more time after obtaining cell phone data showing Blaze and Sam Woodward were there together.
And this is a week after Blaze went missing.
Yeah, it led us to this particular area when all of a sudden Blaze Bernstein's phone at that point in time turned off.
So they'd been together, and suddenly Blaze goes dark.
Blaze goes dark, and then Sam Woodward's phone continues. There was a torrential downpour. It was cold, it was raining, everything was wet, everything was muddy. We searched all this area until my partner Jack and I came to this area right here.
I saw a spot that looked unusual. So I walked down. There was a large tree branch covering an area that looked a little odd, like the rain had kind of settled some dirt around something. I moved the tree branch, and you could see the left hip and upper left leg area of a human body.
And you knew?
Knew.
Had to be him.
Instantly. In my gut, without even seeing the face. And I knew that it was Blaze Bernstein.
They must have found his cell phone as well.
We located a broken cell phone about probably 6 inches, 8 inches below where the body was found.
I was sitting in my English class in 8th grade, and the teacher got a call, and he was like, "Bowie, you're gonna go to the office, they need you for something." And I was like, "Oh, good, maybe some good news." And they took me into this room, and I saw my godmother. She was crying, and I looked at her, and she just hugged me, and she said, "They found him, he is dead. Blaze is gone."
To the index in the body of a college student found in Lake Forest, California. Blaze Bernstein had disappeared 1 week ago. The case now a homicide.
That was the end of hope for me.
We started off this journey over a week ago, looking for our son and asking for everyone to help us find Blaze Bernstein. And we just have learned that they have positively identified our son Blaze's body today.
I just felt so numb, like nothing that had happened in my life had mattered anymore. And then when I got home, my dad was just like, he was just defeated, but he just said, like, "It's gonna be okay. Like, we have each other, it's gonna be okay." Sorry.
The specific details of what occurred at Borrego Park are part of the ongoing investigation.
The autopsy revealed injuries which I believe were a result of an extremely violent encounter. Blaze was stabbed 14 times in the left side of his neck, 5 times on the right side of his neck. He was stabbed, in the knee. He had defensive wounds all over his fingers. He was fighting for his life, and probably a surprise attack.
You hear about that many stab wounds. What does it tell you about the person or the mindset of the person who did that?
Hate and rage. Intimate. It was an intimate killing.
It was devastating news for the family and for the community.
My reaction when I heard it was fury, anger, disbelief. I haven't felt those feelings in my life.
As the investigation into Blaze's murder began, hundreds gathered for a vigil in his honor.
We lost one of our sons. I hope that we can all join together and support the Bernstein family.
The funeral was incredibly painful. We had to ask for RSVPs because we could only accommodate here in the building about 11 or 1,200 people. And then there was a public service at the largest space we have in Orange County a few weeks after the funeral, in the 3,000 seats, and that was full.
I believe most people are good.
Students from Blaze's Performing Arts High School chose to sing Luke Bryan's song, Most People Are Good.
I see a lot of goodness here, and I hope that we can bring more tolerance, more peace, understanding, and love to everything that we do and make a better world for our children. Thank you.
The community wrapped its arms around the Bernstein family. The park near their house where Blaze played as a child and where his body was found turned into a makeshift memorial with messages of love and support from all over the world.
This is a note somebody left us. Dear Lord, please watch over the Bernstein family and give them strength during this time. Please guide our police department to help them find the person or persons who took Blaze away. We still needed answers because we didn't have anybody in custody. In my mind, the hunt was still on.
But for investigators, the hunt would become far more complex because they've discovered that the night of the murder, Blaze's best friend received a text message from Blaze's phone saying, quote, I did something really horrible for the story, but also no one can ever know, end quote. Blaze's friend responds, what story? But gets nothing back.
That was the last text message that was sent from his phone.
The last text message from the phone of a murder victim is always going to be of critical importance to a homicide investigator.
We are 6.5 years since my son was killed.
Blaze is ready. Blaze the trail.
We are all going through our own personal hell right now.
Blaze Bernstein was found with 28 stab wounds.
You hear about that many stab wounds. What does it tell you about the person or the mindset of the person who did that?
A lot of anger somewhere from within, and he took it out on Blaze Bernstein.
Did I introduce him to something that later on came back to haunt us all?
And not only was this just a murder, now we're starting to see a bigger picture.
What do you make of the fact that it's very possible that a neo-Nazi killed Blaze in the United States?
He's the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. This can happen anywhere.
There was almost like a gasp from some people.
Police believe they know who killed Blaze Bernstein.
Were you planning to kill him that night?
I I hope that we can all join together and support the Bernstein family.
We're hoping for better results, but yesterday afternoon, sheriff's investigators did find the body of Blaze Bernstein.
19-year-old Blaze Bernstein was first reported missing by his family on January 3rd, 2018. But after a week-long search, he was found dead in a park near his parents' Orange County, California home.
As this investigation moves from search and rescue to a homicide investigation, we ask for your continued support in providing tips and information to the Orange County Sheriff's Department.
As investigators search for answers about who had killed Blaze and why, his parents Jeannie and Gideon flew east to Philadelphia to begin a grim task: cleaning out Blaze's apartment on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania. The grief-stricken Bernstein family invited us to go with them for this emotional and difficult journey.
This is the apartment building that my son moved into. He's on.
Let's first look at his mail.
5 days before he came home to California.
It's been hard especially for Jeannie, to come here, having to go and, basically clean up your child's life after they're gone.
And the kitchen was meticulous. I mean, he had every appliance and everything. I loved his apartment. It was so beautiful. It was so Blaze.
This is the Whisk sweatshirt that my brother got. He was an editor for the Pen Appetit magazine. We were going through his closet and we found it, and I was like, I'm gonna take that.
We had an opportunity to meet Blaze's friends. We will be here for you forever, and we appreciate your friendship.
I'm delighted that Blaze had them in his life because I know that they all made him very happy.
He would have loved this. Yeah. He used to wear this all the time.
Oh, that's my dad.
Blaze was someone that you can trust with anything, and I trusted him with my life. It was the parent that Blaze was figuring out himself, whether it be religion or sexuality or experience.
At what point as parents did you realize that Blaze was gay?
I had an idea about it when he was probably early high school. I saw something on a phone or that he didn't want me to see, and it kind of confirmed a suspicion that I had, and I think he knew that I had seen it.
We actually had a conversation while he was back at college, and he was telling us essentially, yeah, I am gay, but I just don't want to talk about it.
Did people at school know? Was he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think his friends knew at school.
Because Blaze was so open about his sexuality with me, I feel like that definitely gave him a better foundation. So if he was to go to his parents and his family and open up about that part of his life, he would have known that we were all there for him.
You noticed that too? Yeah. I took a picture of it. In the mirror.
As a mother of a gay man, I am proud to be that.
Blaze is ready. Blaze the trail.
You feel like, like an artist that you have spent your lifetime sculpting this amazing piece of artwork, and then it gets destroyed. And so here we are. Our artwork is gone. Hard to accept.
Back home in California, the investigation continued, and the focus remained on Blaze's former high school classmate, Sam Woodward, the person who admitted to driving with him to Borrego Park.
We have interviewed that friend several times. That person is not in custody, and we are not prepared to comment on persons of interest at this time.
When Orange County Sheriff's investigator Dylan Jansen first spoke with Woodward the day after Blaze was reported missing, he says Woodward seemed nervous and told different versions of where at Borrego Park he and Blaze went that night. And Jansen says Woodward had what appeared to be injuries on his hands.
Those cuts in your hands, they look pretty gnarly. I mean, how do you think you got those from the fight club?
Sam said he was involved with a fight club.
He said that he sustained these cuts to his hands after somebody was clawing at him during one of the fights.
When I swung at him, I kind of fell on my ass. And I usually try and have my hands to break my fall for me, and so I landed on some rocks.
I've heard of fight clubs, but I didn't believe it. Anytime that Sam Woodward was walking around the station, when he touched the doorknobs, he would cover his hands with the sleeves of his sweatshirt. Is he attempting to cover up fingerprints? Is he attempting to cover up DNA? It was definitely something that stood out.
Nearly a week after that interview with police, when Blaze's body was found, investigators went looking for Sam Woodward once again.
Investigators said that when they searched Woodward's bedroom, there was some damning evidence. They found a knife with blood on the handle and on the tip of the blade. They also found bloodstains on a sleeping bag outside his window and on the driver's side of his car.
The knife that was found in Sam Woodward's room, the areas of the vehicle that had apparent blood in it, the sleeping bag that was found on the side of Sam Woodward's home, they were all tested for DNA, and those results concluded to be the blood from Blaze Bernstein.
With this new evidence, police are now ready to make an arrest.
Under arrest, 20-year-old Samuel Lincoln Woodward suspected of killing Blaze Bernstein.
Police say DNA evidence led them to arrest the 19-year-old's former high school classmate.
I remember thinking to myself, that's the guy that was on the phone.
I want to find Blaze as much as you do.
At the time, I thought, I wonder what my brother was thinking before he died. I wonder if he was in pain, or I wonder if he could have saved himself. I think once Sam was arrested, I knew my brother didn't have a chance.
But something authorities were playing pretty close to the vest was motive. Why would Sam Woodward want to kill Blaze Bernstein? As the days unfolded, investigators would confront a possibility they hadn't even originally contemplated.
Not only was this murder, we're starting to see a bigger picture. It was absolutely shocking.
This morning, the Orange County District Attorney's Office filed one felony count of murder against 20-year-old Newport Beach resident Samuel Woodward.
Before joining ABC News, I spent 26 years as a deputy district attorney in the Orange County DA's office, and for a time, I was one of the prosecutors consulting on this case. Sam Woodward was taken into custody 10 days after Blaze went missing and 3 days after his body was found.
There was the victim's DNA on property that was in the control of the defendant.
Well, I remember that moment well. I was sitting in my room. I think I was watching it on television, and I just thought to myself, it's finally happened. Now what?
With the knowledge of how Blaze was murdered, now an excruciating reality for the Bernsteins, the focus turned to why.
Blaze was stabbed nearly 20 times in the neck. Using a knife to kill is particularly violent because you have to be up so close. That many wounds says this was likely a crime of rage or of passion, more personal than your typical murder. So as a prosecutor, my next question would be, who is Sam Woodward and what was his relationship with Blaze?
I had no clue why Blaze would be meeting with Sam. You know, they were never really friends in school. I just know that everybody else got bad vibes from him.
Woodward grew up in Newport Beach, the wealthy suburb south of LA in Orange County. He was a Cub Scout and Eagle Scout, and as we know, Woodward spent part of his high school years at OSHA, the same elite art school where Blaze had also been a student.
It took me a couple of minutes as I watched the footage. It started to dawn on me, oh my God, that's the Sam I taught. Every kid in my acting for the camera class, it was film work. So I said, everybody pick your favorite movie and bring me a scene or a monologue from that film. And he said, I want to do something from the Army. So I gave him Brad Pitt's speech in Inglourious Basterds.
As a bushwhacking guerrilla army, we're going to be doing one thing and one thing only. Killing Nazis.
The provocative Quentin Tarantino World War II thriller is about a plan to assassinate Nazi leaders by a band of Jewish soldiers.
It weighs heavily on me. Did I introduce him to something that later on came back to haunt us all?
A.C. Thompson, an investigative reporter for ProPublica, uncovered some disturbing information when digging into Woodward's background.
When I started reporting on Sam Woodward, what really stuck out to me was this. Sam Woodward was a member of the Atomwaffen Division, which was a neo-Nazi terrorist group that aimed to bring down the U.S. government and incite a race war.
Race war now!
Atomwaffen posted violent propaganda videos online to spread a message of hate and to help recruit new members.
The Atomwaffen Division was a neo-Nazi group that existed from about 2015 to 2020. They were inspired by Charles Manson. They were also inspired by Tim McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber. They weren't interested in protests or marching in the streets. They wanted to kill people.
That organization was hell-bent on destroying America within, taking down the system.
My reporting team and I got access to thousands and thousands of private chat messages that were between members of the Atomwaffen group. Sam Woodward was one of the people in these chats.
Writing in the chats under the alias Saboteur, Woodward spewed anti-Semitic, anti-gay, misogynist hate.
When we executed the search warrants on several electronic devices, including computers and cell phones and laptops, there were thousands of images of white supremacist propaganda and hundreds of images to include the Atomwaffen Division.
But Woodward's interest in Atomwaffen apparently went beyond just talk in a chat room. Also found on Sam Woodward's devices was a picture with James Mason. He's a neo-Nazi whose writings Atomwaffen members describe as a main influence on the group, along with a photo of Woodward in a skull mask giving the Nazi salute.
Now we're starting to see a bigger picture. Not only was this just a murder, there's a high probability that Sam Woodward killed Blaze Bernstein because he was homosexual, possibly because he was Jewish, or a combination of both.
I'm here to announce the Orange County District Attorney's Office will file an amended complaint, a hate crime enhancement accusing Woodward of intentionally committing first-degree murder, due in whole or in part to Blaze's sexual orientation. We will prove that Woodward killed Blaze because Blaze is gay.
What do you make of the fact that it's very possible that a neo-Nazi killed Blaze in the United States?
Yeah, if that's the case, that's going to be the biggest tragedy of this story.
He's the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. This can happen anywhere. You aren't safe from this type of hate.
But something else that's still not adding up, how were Blaze Bernstein and Sam Woodward connected? They were both from Orange County, but Blaze, a young gay Jewish man, and Woodward, a member of a neo-Nazi group, seemed to have nothing else in common. Why were they together that night in the first place? Sam Woodward would have his day in court with a stunning new look and a surprising defense. While Sam Woodward was arrested for killing Blaze Bernstein in January 2018, it would take 6 years for him to face a jury. Woodward was charged with first-degree murder, a hate crime. He pleaded not guilty.
19-year-old Blaze Bernstein was stabbed repeatedly and killed back in 2018, and now, 6 years later, that trial finally begins today.
By the time the trial was starting, I'd already left the DA's office, but I was watching the proceedings closely.
Still, no one seems prepared for the Sam Woodward that has led into Judge Kimberly Menager's courtroom.
There was almost like a gasp from some people, just to kind of that visceral reaction to kind of seeing him. Long, dark, stringy hair, long, dark beard, covering his face. It's hard not to kind of draw mental comparisons to Charles Manson.
Blaze Bernstein was found
with 28 stab wounds.
Senior Deputy District Attorney Jennifer Walker's opening statements tell the story of a young man who they say set out to murder 19-year-old Blaze Bernstein in cold blood. That hate crime charge, she explains, that was brought because prosecutors believe the evidence showed Sam Woodward murdered Blaze because he was gay, but not because he was Jewish.
You'll see the cell phone evidence, the defendant's words, the defendant's hate.
But in his opening statements, defense attorney Ken Morrison did something we definitely don't see every day by making a stunning admission.
My client, Sam Woodward, was responsible for that death. The why is the single most important issue you will need to decide.
This is no longer a trial about guilt or innocence. The question now becomes, did Woodward plan the killing because of a hatred of gay people? Was it premeditated? If the jury agrees, that could mean a first-degree murder conviction and most likely a sentence of life without the possibility of parole.
Morrison argues for a lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter and an acquittal of the hate crime allegation, which would result in a reduced sentence and a chance for parole.
The evidence will show that Blaze Bernstein's sexual orientation had absolutely nothing to do with the reason he was killed.
Jennifer Walker calls her first witnesses, Blaze Bernstein's parents. Gideon Bernstein now faces down the man who killed his son as he recounts the painful moments when the family first realized that Blaze was missing.
You remember where you were when you got the phone call?
I do remember that, yes.
And why does that stand out in your mind?
Because it was the beginning of hell.
Jennifer Walker then brings an Orange County Sheriff's deputy to the stand to describe what he watched Sam Woodward do on January 5th, 2018, after police decided to put Woodward under surveillance.
What did you observe?
I observed him what appeared to be cleaning his vehicle, the interior and exterior.
He had in his possession what looked like a spray bottle of cleaning product.
Now scrubbing the driver's side door.
It was very strange to us. What was he cleaning? Why?
Jennifer Walker then digs into the heart of her hate crime argument, portraying Sam Woodward as somebody who changed from Eagle Scout to neo-Nazi.
He had developed his long-standing beliefs against Jewish people and gay people, and started joining groups that espoused the views that he had.
This is where Woodward's involvement in the extremist group Atomwaffen becomes key for the prosecution. Investigators say they found these images on Woodward's personal devices.
The prosecution calls an ex-member to the stand whose voice has been altered and his face obscured at the request of the court. He's also using an alias.
Good morning, Mr. Murphy.
Good morning.
Prosecutors allege that Woodward sought out the group, and once there, the fires of his hatred were further stoked as he attended multiple meetings.
So this summer of 2017, Austin, Texas, tell us what you and Sam Woodward did.
We took propaganda photos. That involved us throwing up Nazi salutes. Put the Atomwaffen logo on the photos, for propaganda purposes.
The prosecution also presents what Woodward himself labels Sam's diary of hate, emails he sent to himself over a 7-month period in 2017.
The prey that the defendant had chosen was gay people. And he kept a diary of his feelings and intentions.
And who did the prosecution allege that he was, quote, hunting? Well, they say that Sam Woodward had been visiting online dating sites to connect with gay men.
Downloaded Grindr so I could send photos of their fellow sodomites getting killed and tell them that they're going to be next. They're terrified, LMAO. This is too much fun. They think they're going to get hate crimed, and it scares the out of them.
And this is how the prosecution claims Sam Woodward targeted Blaze while he was hunting for victims on the dating app Tinder. The two men first connected on the app in June of 2017, 3 years after they'd been classmates at OSHA. And then again, the night Blaze disappeared. The last exchange is allegedly what led to their encounter in Borrego Park.
And then here is where the luring starts. And the defendant says, "Is anyone near you right now? Because I just wanted to say." And Blaze says, "Nope. No, what? No one is near me." And the defendant says, "I might make an exception for you." And the defendant says, "Look, do you have Snap?" And then we have Blaze snapping his address to the defendant at 10:37 p.m. on January 2nd of 2018.
According to prosecutors, the trap had been set and Blaze stumbled right into it that night when he agreed to meet up with Sam Woodward.
But when it's the defense's turn to present its case, jaws will drop in the courtroom because the star witness will be the defendant himself, Sam Woodward. And the crux of the defense's case, that Sam had a secret and would go to any lengths to hide it, even if he had to kill.
He kept saying something that I can only remember as, "I got you already. I got you, I got you."
Today we're going to another day of court. It's definitely a challenge emotionally and mentally to get up and just have to go and do this.
We are 6.5 years since my son was killed. We are all going through our own personal hell right now. The prosecution rested last week, and we're now listening to defense witnesses.
Sam Woodward's defense attorney, Ken Morrison, is making his case.
Sam did not hate Blaze for any reason.
Remember, the defense has acknowledged that 26-year-old Sam Woodward killed Blaze Bernstein, but they insist it was neither a premeditated murder nor a hate crime.
You will also hear lots of additional evidence that helps to explain why this homicide was committed.
But just as Morrison starts laying out his case, the defense team is dealt a blow. The judge rules that some evidence is inadmissible, including that mysterious last text message sent from Blaze's phone on the night of the murder. I did something really horrible for the story, but also no one can ever know.
The jury then hears how Sam Woodward was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, which the defense says hindered his ability to make and maintain friendships and contributed to Sam's acute sense of isolation and loneliness.
This helps to explain how starved Sam was for the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and acceptance, and how profoundly vulnerable he was to recruitment into groups like Atomwaffen.
The defense claims Sam Woodward's participation in Atomwaffen wasn't as much about ideology as it was about connecting with others and just having a good time. Morrison calls former Atomwaffen member Tyler Wiesing to the stand.
So would you characterize the camp as very serious in terms of the ideology, goals, training, that sort of thing?
That was the intent and the image. In the reality, it was a bunch of people getting drunk and not taking things seriously.
As for those Tinder messages, well, the prosecution argued that Sam Woodward was online to hunt and terrorize victims. Morrison says that never happened, and he argues that in this case, it was Blaze who pursued Sam.
June 15, 2017, Blaze Bernstein saw Sam's profile on Tinder, and Blaze Bernstein initiated the first contact with Sam Woodward, not the other way around. And And then Sam says, thing is, you're not too shabby looking yourself, Blaze. Blaze says, well, thanks, Sam. That's sweet of you. An emoji. Sam says, yeah, you're cute, TBH, to be honest.
According to the defense, Sam Woodward was repressing his own feelings of homosexuality, which could help explain the reason behind, quote, Sam's diary of hate.
He's trying to kind of keep this as like this hidden away part of his life, that these hate diary entries are simply narrative constructs to cover up that part of him should Atomwaffen members get suspicious.
Morrison argues that Sam Woodward was tortured by his sexual identity because of what he claims he heard at home. He calls Woodward's mother, Michelle, to the witness stand.
Ms. Woodward, was it ever communicated to your children that homosexuality is a sin?
Yes.
And who communicated that?
My husband.
The defense calls James Markle to the stand, please.
Family friend James Markle tells the court about an incident he says Michelle recounted to him about Sam's father, Blake.
Was there any particular word that Michelle Woodward told you that she would hear Blake call Sam?
He would say, he would say, okay.
But when called to the stand, Sam Woodward's father, Blake, denies using any homophobic slurs.
Would you make derogatory remarks about homosexual people in Sam's presence?
No. But ultimately, the case would hinge on the testimony of the one person who was there the night Blaze Bernstein was killed, Sam Woodward.
The defense is calling up Samuel Woodward.
For the defense, calling their client to testify is a risky move. It can be viewed as a Hail Mary or as a very shrewd tactic to play on the jury's sympathies.
And Mr. Woodward, can I ask you if you're able to move the hair out of your face a little bit?
Sam Woodward's defense attorney, Ken Morrison, takes Woodward through the story of his life, arriving at a key question.
Sam, was there ever a time in your life that you can recall where you wondered whether you might be gay?
No. No, I can't say really there was, no.
This may have just blown up Ken Morrison's defense, which hinges on the argument that Sam Woodward was struggling with his sexual identity. And that will become hugely important because of what Morrison is about to argue Blaze did that night, which he says provoked the attack.
You will learn that Blaze Bernstein was not killed because of who he was, but because of what he did to Sam Woodward after they met up.
What will Sam Woodward say happened that night?
When you drove to Blaze Bernstein's house to pick him up, Sam, were you planning to kill him that night?
It's day 28 in the trial of Sam Woodward, and defense attorney Ken Morrison is questioning his client about the night that he and Blaze ended up in Borrego Park.
I'm pretty sure I said we should hang out at some point, or rather it'd be cool if you wanted to, and right after that, he said to me that he was actually free this night right now, and at that point, I said, all right, cool.
Sam Woodward testifies that after picking up Blaze near his house, the two men eventually arrived at the park. There, on a bench, Woodward claims the night took a dark turn.
Woodward said he smoked some marijuana, was starting to kind of get drowsy, kind of nod off. He feels something and opens his eyes.
I saw a hand right on my crotch with my pants unbuckled. I looked right up and I saw him, and he had his phone in his hand. He kept saying something that I can only remember as, I got you already, I got you, hypocrite. I heard him maybe use the word outed in the same sentence. I couldn't exactly remember.
If Sam Woodward is to be believed, Blaze was threatening him, and that's what made Woodward snap.
What, if anything, did you think he was doing with his cell phone?
I thought he might photograph me. I thought he might send text messages. I thought he might be trying to record me.
So at any point in time, did you see Blaze actually appear as though he was texting any messages?
Yes.
Sam Woodward says his fear was that there had been an image or video taken and that his family would learn about it.
I grew up in a home with my mother and my father and my brother. Loved them more than I can almost speak about. My father, though, if he'd heard about something like that got out somehow, I couldn't fathom that.
Sam Woodward then describes how he says things escalated.
I found one of the knives that I had used to open up the container of marijuana. I just kept driving and driving and driving and driving the knife down.
When you say driving the knife down, Sam, were you stabbing Blaze?
At that point, yes, I was.
In an effort to try to dispel any argument that this was a hate crime, Morrison asked Sam Woodward 2 final questions.
When you drove to Blaze Bernstein's house to pick him up, Sam, were you planning to kill him that night?
No, not at all.
Did you hate him because he was gay?
No, not at all.
But now, here's where the gamble of putting Woodward on the stand could either pay off or lose big.
Okay, so walk me through it, sir.
On cross-examination, Jennifer Walker attacks Woodward's credibility.
The left side of his neck was closest to you, right? If he's sitting to your right?
Everything was a blur.
Well, how did you stab him 14 separate times on the left side of his neck when he was sitting right next to you?
I can't remember.
And how did you stab him 5 separate times on the right side of his neck when he was sitting to your right?
I can't remember.
After a trial full of fits and starts, spanning almost 3 months, the case goes to the jury. The jury deliberates for about 8 hours.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Samuel Woodward, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder.
It's an emotional moment, even for the court clerk.
A felony and violate? Just 1 second.
Sure.
I've prosecuted a lot of murder cases, and I can't say I've ever seen a court clerk react like that.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find it to be true that the defendant, Samuel Woodward, committed hate crime, first-degree murder.
We are thrilled with the verdict, which holds Samuel Woodward accountable for the brutal, violent, painful murder of our son. Justice has been served. Thank you.
Breaking news now, an emotional afternoon in an Orange County courtroom. The sentencing has just been handed down for the man convicted in the hate crime murder of Blaze Bernstein.
This time the court does sentence the defendant to state prison for the term prescribed by law, which is life without the possibility of parole.
The jury said that they saw this as a hate crime and that hate was not going to get you anywhere in this world.
In the 7 years since Blaze Bernstein's murder, the family of Sam Woodward has never spoken out beyond their court testimony. But the Bernsteins say the Woodwards did leave something for them back in 2018.
Have they reached out to you, by the way?
Yeah.
We found a note under our doormat.
What did it say, this note?
Orange County Sheriff's investigator Sergeant Dylan Jansen knows Borrego Park a lot better than he would like to. In the initial days of the investigation, how many hours would you say you spent at this park here?
Countless. I spent a lot of time over here just looking, thinking, analyzing, what was the truth, what's not the truth.
We may never know exactly what happened the night Blaze was murdered or what that last text message meant. But Sergeant Jansen can answer one question based on the evidence.
That cell phone, even though it was damaged, we were able to send it to various companies to restructure the cell phone and extract any and all information on there.
Were there any pictures of that night?
No.
This park is pretty meaningful for you.
So we stop here and go check out the garden of rocks that are now over in the corner.
Do you feel that you get a little bit of closure each time you put one more rock down?
I don't even know what closure is. When you lose a child, I think maybe closure for me will be just being able to look at all of these things and be happy.
Almost 7 years after I walked in Borrego Park with the Bernsteins, the memorial of painted stones honoring their son has blossomed. Jeannie and Gideon have both moved away from Foothill Ranch, but they tell me they still find solace in this place.
In the Jewish tradition, it is a thing that you put rocks at a gravesite.
And there's a permanence to it.
It gives us some feeling of connection to people, the people that will hear our story and understand the importance of eradicating hate in this world. This is about love.
Since 2018, the Bernsteins have been building a movement. They call it Blaze It Forward.
The Blaze It Forward campaign was based off the idea that as a community, we can make a difference and we can change the way that this world works. We were able to take that in my brother's honor to try and encourage people to just do one good thing every day.
They participate in local pride parades, and Jeannie hosts a podcast featuring people doing good in the world. Sam Woodward's parents, Blake and Michelle Woodward, never responded to an interview request with ABC News, but they did write a letter to the court submitted at sentencing. It reads, in part, "In the past, you could look into Sam's eyes and be surprised at the level of sensitivity and warmth. It's one of his best traits. Now, he's too vulnerable to let you look him in the eyes. He committed a crime, but he is not a person without value, unworthy of respect." Speaking about the Woodward parents, they left a note at your house in 2018, right?
They did. At the time, I thought it was infuriating because one of the things that they said in that letter was that that both families are going through a hard time right now. I don't think that she had any idea how hard of a time we were having.
But there's another letter that holds more meaning for Jeannie and Gideon, discovered after the trial, tucked among the colorful painted stones of Blaze's memorial.
This is a copy of a note that was left for us in the park by one of the jurors. She basically says in this letter to Blaze that she's really sorry that she didn't get to know him.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to class today.
So Blaze would be 27. Do you ever think about what he would be like today had he lived?
He'd be doing something fantastic. I know that about Blaze, and he'd be making people happy. That's what he did. Blaze is always on my mind. I think about him from the minute I wake up until I go to bed at night. He was my person.
He was a piece of man. He's gone. But I'm still here, and whatever he's done to make an impact on this world is what we're going to leverage and try to make sure that people never forget about our son and what happened.
Sam Woodward's defense lawyer, Ken Morrison, David, says his client didn't get a fair trial. Woodward has appealed.
Morrison claims there are several appellate issues because of evidence the jury was not allowed to see. In the meantime, that is our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm
David Muir.
And I'm Deborah Roberts. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
It's hard to talk about that day because when I look back, I just think about the tragedy.
911, address of your emergency?
Yeah, we have a missing person.
The woman who owns the property where the wedding guests are staying is nowhere to be found.
I had her neighbor go over there to check on her. She said the door's wide open, the TV's blaring, and you better come over here.
It is haunting and chilling in a way that I'll never forget.
Did you see anything else strange when you went in the home?
Yes. There seems to be blood all over her pillow. There's 20-plus guests staying in the big house, and there's a wedding party.
The house turned into a crime scene. It's taped off. The police are there. There's helicopters. There's dogs. All of my friends don't know how they're getting back to that house.
These are all potential suspects in the case. I mean, this is like an Agatha Christie novel, like a classic whodunit.
I knew that something really bad had happened, and it wasn't going to be good.
The draw for Paso Robles is, of course, the scenery, the layout of the land.
The real name of Paso Robles is called El Paso de Robles, which is the Pass of the Oaks.
Oak trees, horses, cattle, and then there's the vineyards.
The Paso Robles area, it is very much the hotspot of wineries in the county.
Just, it's honestly like a fairy tale place to go.
I was born and raised in California. I have close family and friends who lived and grew up not far from here. I've always loved this area. Paso Robles, nestled halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles, a getaway town, scenic and quiet. But down El Faro Road, in the middle of all this beauty, something ugly took place, right here at this secluded vacation home. The owner of this ranch-style property was 62-year-old Nancy Woodrum. She lived alone after her husband passed away a few years before, and she was really a fixture in the Paso Robles community and ran a popular salon downtown.
We are at Nancy's Salon. This is the Strand. This is where I come every 3 weeks to have her do her magic. Nancy clicked with everybody. She just had that amazing gift of just openness, kindness, just generous. And she passed on her amazing gift to her daughter, Amanda, who now is my stylist.
Do you have a favorite photograph?
This one, my mom and I.
What makes this photograph so special?
We had a special bond. I was her firstborn, and it just really shows that relationship that we had. Sums it all up.
How would you describe your mom? What was she like?
She liked to have fun. She liked to do things. She was active. We were always doing stuff. Going here, going there with the horses, the animals. Oh, okay. Oh, you're fine. Oh, all right, I won't leave you. She loved riding. It was calming to her. And she loved being out in nature with the horses.
You and your mother, you shared this talent for hairdressing, passion for horseback riding, but also a belief in a particular faith.
Well, she raised me as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and she had very strong morals and raised me to be a good person.
Nancy was always a devout Jehovah's Witness. We believe that the earth will be made new again. We believe that God created it for a purpose, and He's going to make it a beautiful paradise again.
Amanda's parents, Robert and Nancy, purchased the property on El Faro Road in 2006. It was a fixer-upper. They were going to have this project and make it their home. But eventually, they decided to turn this property into a vacation rental.
My dad was a contractor, and they made it beautiful. They remodeled it and worked really hard on it.
So you come in, you'd see this 2-story Victorian home with wraparound porches and this willow tree that you parked under.
What did Nancy name the property?
It was called Paradise Ranch because she had the hope of being in paradise, the hope that the Bible gives us.
On Friday, May 4th, this big group of wedding guests check into Paradise Ranch for a weekend wedding at a local winery. The bride, who found the place online, is staying there with her bridesmaids and some close friends. She asks us not to show her face or reveal her name.
We wanted to do a vineyard wedding in Paso Robles. It was a special place to us. Paradise Ranch seemed perfect when we saw the pictures. The main house was very large and welcoming and just charming. And then the guest house was where I was staying, and that was also just very quaint and cute. Nancy came by the guest house and introduced herself. She was very warm and welcoming and gave me a hug, and she was so kind. And she mentioned that she was staying close by on the property.
And then on Saturday, May 5th, you received a phone call that concerned you. What did you learn on that call?
My mom had not shown up for a Bible study, and that was very unusual. I had her neighbor go over there to check on her. She said, the door's wide open, the TV's blaring, and you better come over here.
What did you see when you first approached your mother's apartment?
Everything was there as she left it, but she wasn't there. There was a stain on the carpet. Her sheets and her bedding were missing.
I looked closer at the walls, and when I saw what looked to be splatter on the walls, that's when I grabbed the phone and called 911.
911, address of your emergency?
Yeah, we have a missing person. My mother-in-law has not been heard of or seen today.
Did you see anything else strange when you went in the house?
Yes.
What?
There seems to be blood all over her pillow.
Okay.
There's 20 plus guests staying in the big house, and there's a wedding party. And
there's a wedding party that was there this weekend?
Yes.
I was so excited, getting ready for my wedding day, and a couple family members came by, and I just remember, have you seen my mom? Have you seen our mom? And something about blood, and I freaked out.
I just asked if they had seen my mom today, and no one had seen her.
And what's your state of mind at this point?
Panic. Shaky and frantic.
Amanda is frantically looking for her mother. The cops are on the property looking for clues. But at the same time that this is going on, down the road, an eagle-eyed officer makes a discovery that could break the case open.
What was extremely suspicious in my mind just really quadrupled. My name is Clinton Cole. I'm a reserve detective with the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office. I live in a house with my girlfriend and 3 dogs and 2 birds. Hi, little bird. I usually get up pretty early. I have coffee, I get the dogs outside, I feed them, and then just relax. In 2018, I was a senior deputy with the Sheriff's Office. That Saturday, it was May, so it was a pretty nice day when I received a phone call from my sergeant at the time asking if I was available for a suspicious missing persons case. I got in my truck and was told that I needed to start heading to El Faro Road. So that's what I did, is I started towards that location.
What did you first see as you pulled up to the property?
I saw this very large white house. I met with the first responding deputy and the on-call detective sergeant. Senior Deputy Degnan came over. He said, "This is very suspicious. Something's very wrong here." I could sense by his demeanor, his voice, that this was not good.
You're making your way around the property, and then finally you approach Nancy's cottage, right here. What's the first thing you see?
I see this door is open as it is now. No signs of a forced entry.
So this is inside Nancy's cottage here. What were the first red flags that you saw as you walked in?
Well, when I first walked in, right here below me was 2 large blood spots.
Blood stains right here.
Right here on the floor. And then over here, there was a bench, and on that bench was Nancy's purse, car keys, her cell phone, her iPad. Her 2 vehicles were parked out there. There was a pillow sitting here, a beige pillow that had blood on it, and there was blood spatter on that cabinet, as well as on Nancy's headboard and against the back wall.
What are all these signals telling you about what happened in this cottage?
I felt immediately that she was taken against her will.
You thought this was a crime scene?
Absolutely, right away.
While investigators are on the property, looking for any clues they can find, down the road that evening, a huge discovery is made that changes the entire case's direction.
We received a phone call from an officer with the California Highway Patrol who had located some bedding and clothing about 6 or 7 miles from Nancy's house on La Ponza Road. So this area here is where items were located by the California Highway Patrol. Those items consisted of bedding, a pillow, a dress, a woman's dress, a pair of shorts, and a shirt. We obviously wanted to find out if they were related.
All of the evidence is brought back and secured in the crime lab annex. When I opened everything up, we looked at all of the evidence more thoroughly. What struck me with this bedding was that there were stains that appeared to be blood stains. The gingham type print was consistent with the remaining bedding that was at El Faro. These items were located on La Ponza along with the bedding, and this was 2 of the clothing items. My thought was that Nancy was wrapped in part of the bedding and transported, whether it be that she was deceased or whether it be that she was severely injured.
We showed these items to her daughter, who confirmed, in fact, these items did come from Nancy's bedroom.
Did you recognize them immediately?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was her stuff. I think that's when I knew that something really bad had happened, and it wasn't going to be good.
That's when I knew in my heart we needed to find her, and we needed to do it now.
It's Saturday evening, and police are trying desperately to figure out who would want to hurt Nancy Woodrum. Well, suddenly, their potential suspect list gets really long, because returning to the property from the wedding are all those guests staying at the ranch.
There were approximately 20 or more guests staying in this large white house and the smaller house.
These are all potential suspects in the case.
Yes, it's very overwhelming. We have a missing person on this property and potentially 20 to 24 people that could be suspects but have to be interviewed.
Now you have a suspect pool of 20 plus people that you've got to ask yourself, is this a thing where someone came into town for a wedding and became involved in a crime?
I really feel like you can help us, because I feel like you may have seen something.
So you're searching all around the property, essentially every square inch, and then something catches your attention in the driveway?
About right here, I had noticed what appeared to be 2 fresh tire tracks that had pulled in and were in here. And as where we're standing right below us here, I noticed what appeared to be scuffle marks, as if there was a fight between 2 people with their feet. The scene spoke very loudly to me that Nancy was assaulted inside of her bedroom and then taken somewhere against her will. I saw a pillow on the bed. To be honest, I wasn't as focused on that as much as I was kind of the rest of the room. Janine did an excellent job of getting up on top of a ladder to look down. And that's when she was able to see what looked like a handprint.
From up above, when I looked directly down, I really thought the pattern of it stood out as being a partial handprint. The one side that had a lot of blood most likely was against a person that was bleeding, and the other side that had just the handprint was that this could very well be the weapon that was used to suffocate or smother.
So investigators swabbed this pillow right in the middle of the blood stain of the bloody hand for DNA and sent it off to a lab.
I was at the property when people started coming back from the wedding. So yes, we have just this huge list of potential suspects, persons of interest, whatever you want to call them, that had ready access to Nancy.
So Paradise Ranch is so remote that there just wouldn't be anybody else around to have access to Nancy to harm her. So it's logical that you would look right at the wedding party for potential suspects to see if maybe anybody have something to do with this.
You need to talk to every single one of them.
Absolutely. Well, we had a search warrant for the entire property. As the wedding guests start coming and they're being told, you're not allowed in here. Some of them had children. You know, my diapers, my food, my baby's food. The scene became a little chaotic.
Is it even possible for us to be able to come back later and go to sleep there?
What I'm going to do right now is go find out what the answers to those questions are for you.
What was the bride's reaction when You told her what was going on here.
She was very emotional. She was upset.
I was in complete shock and horrified and could not believe that this was happening to Nancy, who I had just met, and she was so kind and lovely.
It's extremely frustrating to us that you can see how close this house is to Nancy's residence. So you would think someone would hear a car drive up, a scream or something, but no witnesses of over 24 people heard a thing.
Anything unusual happen that you guys noticed in any way with anybody?
No, not anything out of the ordinary.
So the bride is just sleeping on the other side of the wall from Nancy's apartment.
As hard as it is to believe, Nancy's door is here. It was open, and right next door, only one wall separating the two, was where the bride was sleeping. And she said she did not hear anything.
I, went into the guest house, and then my girlfriends and I were doing like face masks and stuff. And then we went to bed at about like 11:15. Did my usual thing where I pop in my earplugs and go to bed.
Keep in mind that police believe that Nancy actually went missing the evening before. And then they learned that that wedding party that had been staying on the property, they were at the rehearsal dinner until late that night.
We went straight to the rehearsal dinner. It was at Cass Winery.
Okay.
And got back from that around 10:30. I would say at like midnight, we all went to bed.
So there was one wedding guest that we couldn't 100% account for him being at the rehearsal dinner.
I wasn't in the wedding or anything, so I pretty much just hung out in the house.
So you were here the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't clear whether he was here, possibly alone with Nancy Woodrum, or did he in fact go to the event at the wedding? And so that raised some concerns, and so we had to take extra time and speak to him again the next day.
We're just trying to figure out what happened, and
I would love to be helpful, but I don't have anything else. This is this is onerous at this point.
All of a sudden, this guy now is like not wanting to cooperate. Usually people who aren't involved bend over backwards for you.
I really need your help. I don't want to impact your day. I don't want to impact your work. We can do it after work.
I prefer not to.
I feel like you may have seen something, and
I haven't.
And so that immediately was a red flag for us, and it was still confusing. We needed to clear it up as soon as possible.
Now, detectives decide they're going to go for round 3 with this particular guest. And this time they go right to his home. And they intend to come back with 2 things, an explanation and some DNA.
We knew we had to get this interview done with or without his permission, or at least try to, and did not let him know we were coming. And we went to the front door and knocked on the door.
Well, how are you? You want to come in? Absolutely.
There was one wedding guest whose whereabouts the night Nancy Woodrum disappeared were questionable, So we went to his residence in Northern California to try and confirm his whereabouts that night.
Hey, I just got your call. Awesome. Hey, just wanted to just ask you a few more questions if you don't mind.
Sure. You want to come
in? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm Dave. Good to meet you.
I'm Clint. Nice to meet you.
Have a seat, absolutely.
He was no longer resistive. He was very cooperative. Actually appeared to feel bad for the way he had talked on the phone.
We just had a couple more questions to clarify and then just a picture. So, did you go to the rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner, or did you stay?
No, okay. I went to both. Or sorry, I went to the rehearsal dinner, not the rehearsal. I think there were a few pictures on my wife's phone that you can see of me like at the rehearsal dinner. I can show you pictures from the property.
Please.
Like, yeah.
His wife remembered to show us photos at the rehearsal dinner on Friday. So the confusion that he stayed back was immediately erased. It was a very frustrating time for us.
All right, thank you, sir. Sure. Thank you.
The wedding guest, who wasn't legally obligated to participate in the investigation, also agreed to submit a DNA sample. While all of this is happening, police are ramping up their efforts now to find Nancy. This shocking disappearance makes huge news in the Paso Robles community.
Deputies are expanding their search, asking nearby residents for security footage. 62-year-old Nancy Woodrum has been missing since Friday afternoon.
We're leveraging all of our resources to do the best we can to figure out where Nancy may have gone and what took place.
This search is playing out all through these foothills and along the riverbed.
There's a riverbed right behind Nancy's property line. We had search and rescue search all of this area out towards the riverbed, the exterior parts of Nancy's property.
We also utilize helicopter to come in and search at a high level for signs, bodies, anything like that.
We had a very good group of friends that were very close to us, and they would go out and go search, go down La Ponza, go down 58.
We'd look through everything, the culverts, everything. And what was going through my mind is Nancy's a tough girl. And I know that she's a fighter. And I'm like, she's alive. We will find her and she's gonna be okay.
During the investigation, we developed another lead. So not only were the wedding guests on the property, but we learned that there was a fairly large number of other people that had access to Nancy Woodrum's property at the time she went missing.
Nancy had decided to sell Paradise Ranch. It was too much work for her. She was having work done on her house to assist with the sale of the home.
Why did Nancy decide to sell Paradise Ranch?
Because she wanted to preach full-time. She really wanted to teach people about the Bible and share her hope with other people.
There were contractors, painters, plumbers, all doing repair work to finalize the sale of Nancy's residence.
You needed to talk to all of them.
Absolutely. Every single person that was on this property within the last couple of weeks had to be located and interviewed.
One of the pieces of evidence left behind was Nancy's iPad case. And all around it were pamphlets and notes and numbers. And there was one of a painter. And the name was Carlo Fuentes, and a phone number.
And so we decided that we should call Carlo Fuentes, since he was on scene, and see if he saw anything that hadn't been reported yet.
Hi, I'm calling because we're investigating the disappearance of Nancy Woodrum. Do you remember when you were there on that Thursday? Do you remember if Nancy was there?
Yes, she was there.
He was very cooperative, very friendly with Detective Cole.
Did you see Nancy like having an argument or disagreement with anybody?
You know, to be honest, I didn't notice anything like that. And I remember she told me, "Oh, you're a hard worker," and then she gave me a tamale.
And Amanda mentioned the name of Sean Bloom, who was a general contractor who had worked on the house. And she reported that Nancy and Mr. Bloom had had some dispute over work that had been performed, and it had become quite heated and quite contentious.
How would you characterize the relationship between your mother and Sean Bloom?
Sean was very frustrated. He eventually got fired. He did not get payment until escrow closed for the work that he had done up to that point. Like, he wanted his money.
Sean Bloom was definitely a person of interest in one of the first couple of people that we called in to be interviewed once we were done with the wedding party.
Actually, I don't like working with Nancy. It's been very difficult. We had issues where Nancy was not happy with our work, fired me off the job.
When was the last time you talked to Nancy?
It was through a Bloomberg text. I have it here.
All the text messages between him and Nancy made no denials about his dislike of Nancy.
And what was the nature of those texts?
Let's see here. So I said, if I don't get payment quickly, I'm going to begin with lawsuits against you and everybody involved.
We're asking everyone we talk to, if you mind providing what we call a buccal swab and see if there's any DNA that might be associated.
I hear what you're saying. I'm going to say, let me talk to my attorney.
So we were like, all right, well, he won't give his DNA without talking to his attorney. 1, he's just being cautious, or 2, he's concerned. So, which is it?
Nancy grew up in San Fernando Valley. At 18 years old, she already obtained her cosmetology license and wanted to do more fashionable hairstyles. And so she commuted to Woodland Hills, where she worked in an exclusive salon. Neil Diamond's wife came in.
She did Kenny Rogers.
She always liked to let everybody know that by 21 she owned her own home and had a Corvette.
Then she met her husband, Robert, who was your quintessential Southern California surfer.
We moved up here in 1991, and it was the 3 of us kids, my parents, and we moved from Woodland Hills to the Central Coast area.
I understand that there were a number of tragedies that struck the family.
So in between me and my brother Chad, there was another baby, Christopher Michael, and he was 10 days old when he died. He was born with a blockage in his intestines.
And then your sister?
She passed away shortly before her 18th birthday.
Nancy's daughter, Amy, passed away from cystic fibrosis.
Amy was a great person, and it really broke my parents' heart. Yeah, it was sad.
And I understand then you lost your father suddenly.
Yep.
Unexpectedly.
Yep.
What happened to him?
He had a heart attack and collapsed as he was getting into my car. It was hard. It was very traumatic.
How did Nancy cope with all of these tragedies?
She had really strong faith in God and a good hope that she was going to see her loved ones again, and that really got her through.
After suffering through all these tragedies, now Nancy herself has vanished into thin air, and her loved ones are hoping against hope that somehow she'll turn up alive and well.
The family's obviously anxious. The investigators are anxious. They're trying to figure out what happened. The community's interested. Is this going to happen to somebody else?
We know that a timeline is essential to a detective. And about a week into their investigation, they make a critical discovery that's going to tell them exactly the time that Nancy went missing.
At midnight 17, there was a 911 call that showed up on the bill for 0 seconds, meaning it didn't go through. It gets shut off somehow.
Like in a split second?
Like very quickly.
What that did was provide what appeared to be a pretty good time and date stamp on when something bad may have happened to Nancy.
Approximately 12 days within the investigation, we got a big lead. The lab informed us that they had developed unknown male DNA on the pillow that we submitted from Nancy's bed.
They submitted it to the state database, CODIS, but no matches were found, which meant that the person whose DNA this was had no record.
To our surprise, several days later, Sean Bloom contacted us and submitted his DNA voluntarily, which cleared him as a suspect.
The DNA results also cleared that wedding guest who police initially found suspicious. But as they started digging deeper into the case, they found something surprising that has investigators wondering whether this was a highly personal crime with a possible suspect much closer to home.
In terms of looking at all potential suspects or persons of interest, there was information that was provided that she potentially had conflict with her son.
I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't talked to my mother face to face in probably 5 years.
I think my brother had a lot of anger growing up. He did not want to be part of the religion that we were in, which was his decision, and but he was angry about it.
She tends to correct our teachings, about God, heaven, we believe in different things, and that's when I kind of just squashed the relationship.
How bitter or challenging did the relationship become between Chad and your mother, Nancy?
At the point of her disappearance, it was not good. They hadn't spoken in quite a while, and my mom was not allowed to see his kids.
But Nancy and Chad were texting each other
the night before.
Right before she disappeared.
Yeah.
And she was reaching out to my brother, trying to just get on common ground maybe with him that way.
He was the last text to her that she had in her phone.
He said he doesn't trust cops and that he's not coming to the station. We were welcome to come to his house and interview him. So we did, and he refused to give his DNA. He was adamant about it.
Can I mention the DNA samples? It would just solely be specifically for this investigation.
I've heard of cases of misappropriated samples, and it can ruin people's lives. And unless it's mandatory, I strongly stand by my decision.
So we surveilled him. We watched him drink 5 or 6 beers. He put the empties in the cab of his truck, and then he drove home.
Chad was stopped and arrested for driving with an open container. While the charge was dropped, those beer bottles were sent to the lab for DNA testing.
Chad ultimately was cleared by DNA.
The case kind of did stall because you got a lot of people we've looked into up to this point, and we're not getting a lot of traction.
Was there a point when you felt like you were desperate for news?
Right. Yeah. We just wanted to figure this out. I was more than willing to help.
No one knew where Nancy was, and needed something to break.
Detectives are about to throw a Hail Mary. They're going to use a relatively new crime-fighting tool, one this department has never used. If it's successful, they'll be able to find out who was in Nancy's cottage at the very moment she disappeared.
I'm excited. We've got something to go on now.
I always remember Nancy liking the old country music. We'd always be playing music either at Nancy's house or my family's house, and it was a big part of our lives. every summer they would set up a concert series, and Nancy volunteered her property for this. It just was a music party, and everyone would dance, and she loved that. This was one of her favorite songs that she liked when I sang, and it's called Syrup and Honey by Duffy. Don't you be wasting all your money on syrup and honey. It'll be good. We just kind of came to the conclusion that we might never know what happened to her. It was really tough. And it was tough for me, but her daughter and Chad, and her grandkids like that. It was hard.
We are definitely very frustrated. The public was unhappy. They felt like we weren't doing anything. They felt like we weren't working the case. We were working on it every single day.
The case kind of did stall because it came to the point where we sort of ran out of investigative leads. Other avenues had to be explored.
And one of the detectives had recently heard about this novel type of evidence called geofencing.
So you've hit a wall in the investigation, you decide you're going to try something new called geofencing, and this is something that really hasn't been done in California before.
At that time, yes, we were one of the first agencies in the state of California that did this, what is called a Google geofence.
You can put a fence, a virtual fence, around an area, a house, a property, and Google will track which Google accounts, emails or cell phones, come within that fence in a given period of time.
These are actually GPS coordinates that you send to Google.
Yes.
You're essentially able to isolate not necessarily who's on the property, but what devices may be on the property, and that's giving you an avenue to now investigate.
It doesn't matter what kind of phone you have, iPhone, Android, Google is tracking you.
That is correct. As long as location services are on your cellular device, Google is tracking that phone and you.
In order to obtain Google geofence information, search warrants needed to be written and served upon Google for a very specific time period.
Now remember, because of that interrupted 911 call at 12:17 a.m., well, that gives detectives a timeline to work with as to when she went missing.
Then Google sends the results. And what do you see?
What you're seeing here is what we got back.
So this is your first fence.
Some people feel that there are privacy concerns. Paradise Ranch is in a rural area, and there are not going to be a lot of unknown people who are going to be located in this geofence.
So little by little, we're zooming in here. These are the phones associated with the wedding guests.
That is correct. The larger circle here within this circle is all wedding guests, and it looks like there's 4.
Yeah, 20 plus wedding guests.
Correct. The reason their phones aren't showing is their phones are probably kind of in silent mode, sleeping, no apps are being used, so that's why you only see 4.
And just to be clear, this number, this is not a phone number, correct?
Correct. Google assigns each cell phone its own device number. The device number is right here, and that is specific to whoever owns that phone. It's like a fingerprint.
By now, all the wedding guests have been cleared, so those numbers are not really the major focus of detectives. What is the major focus is what they see when they examine Nancy's cottage.
As we get here, that is actually Nancy's studio, and we see a cell phone, what we call pinging, basically right in the wall of Nancy's studio. It pings here at 1:33 in the morning and at 01:52 hours.
And that's the time when you believe Nancy disappeared.
That is 100% when we believe Nancy disappeared.
I can tell you from my perspective, I'm excited. We've got something. We've got something to go on now.
Could it have been Nancy's phone? We don't know. But what we do know is it's at strange, odd hours, and it's inside her studio.
So this is a potentially huge moment in the investigation. Either that phone belongs to Nancy and it's another dead end, or it belongs to someone else, you get a name, and that person becomes your most likely killer?
100%. Either that device leads us to a suspect, or we are back to absolutely nothing.
Square one.
Yes.
For months, it's been a daunting mystery. Who could have taken Nancy Woodrum from her beautiful Paso Robles property in California and in the middle of a wedding where more than 20 guests were staying? But thanks to geofencing, this cell phone tracking technology, investigators finally have their first big clue. So this is a key moment in the investigation. You have this huge piece of evidence, a cell phone inside Nancy's cottage. You have to figure out who it belongs to. What's next?
We have to write another set of warrant for the subscriber information.
So it starts the ball rolling, but there's still a fair amount of wait for the data. Sometimes it could take a few weeks.
It's in November. I'm in the courthouse and my phone rings. It's my partner, and they said, "You're not gonna believe this." We got a name of who owned that device, and it is Carlo Fuentes.
A name you recognize, the painter.
Yes, Carlo Fuentes was painting at Nancy's residence numerous times prior to her going missing.
Wait a minute, the painter? Well, this is a shock to investigators because remember, they had already interviewed Carlo Fuentes Flores earlier. This guy was cooperative and mild-mannered, and there was no reason to suspect him then. But now, there's a reason.
We know it's his phone, we know he's there, we know he had that opportunity because he's familiar with the property, he was familiar with Nancy's habits. All those things added up.
There's not a reasonable explanation why anybody would be out doing painting at that time of night. It's looking like he's at least somebody that needs to be talked to again.
So once we get Carlo identified, we need to know as much as we can about him.
What did you find?
We spoke to people that he painted for and friends. Seemed like just a normal guy who had come here from Mexico.
He was one of those guys that you'd want on your team. Worked on and off for me for 20 years.
He just had a good way of communicating, which is, kind of rare in the trades. Seemed very neat, tidy painter and professional.
He was great with clients, very polite and courteous.
Just loved being a dad. He was, loved his daughter, just raved about his daughter.
He was a father, a husband, and by all accounts was someone who was just leading a normal life.
The geofence hit was not enough to arrest him at the time, in large part because it's simply a phone. It doesn't prove that Carlo Fuentes Flores was in possession of his phone at that time. The phone could have been in the possession of somebody else.
You looked into his criminal record, anything there?
There was absolutely nothing in his criminal record, either in Mexico or the United States.
We found no indication that he had a criminal history anywhere. It was really kind of a surprise that way.
He wasn't in a romantic relationship with her. There was not a dispute over funds. There was simply no connection or explanation for why this normal person would try to hurt Nancy.
Now, this is quite baffling to detectives because their initial findings just don't fit the pattern of a suspect in a brutal crime. It isn't adding up why Carlo's phone was at Nancy's cottage. That is, until they do a deep dive into his Google search history and find something surprising.
You found something unexpected?
Yes, he was doing Google searches for cougar in sexy lingerie videos.
That's odd.
That is odd, yes. As you can see, cougar lingerie porn videos, sexy cougars. This has a theme to it that is tied to our case. Nancy Woodrum was older than Carlo Fuentes by about 15 to 20 years, and this is cougar porn.
He clearly has a thing for older women.
Based on his Google search history, absolutely. As we went further into his Google search history, we found where he was searching for escorts in different cities that he was in.
And did he connect with any of these women?
We believe he did, based on some things we found on his cell phone. We found numerous videos of him having sex.
Videos that he shot himself with various women?
Yes. I would say there was at least 10 to 15 videos.
So this father, this husband, had secrets?
A lot of deep secrets that most people don't have. There was the daytime, very nice, courteous painter, excellent painter, great at his job, and then there was the night, kind of weird fetish, drinking too much, Fuentes Flores.
I noticed after a period of time that he was drinking more and kind of like hooking up with different women. There was times where he asked actually to borrow money from me to go to Vegas and girls of the night kind of thing.
He had told me about a call girl he had picked up in Las Vegas, and then there was an older gal that he was seeing. So I just told him, hey man, you're gonna mess it up. You know, you've got a wife, you got a daughter. And so I tried to warn him, you know, multiple times.
We needed more evidence to make this an airtight case.
So we wanted to get Carlo's DNA without letting him know that we were on to him.
The detectives began surveillance on Carlo Fuentes Flores shortly thereafter in order to get an actual DNA sample from him.
We used our special operations unit because what they do all day long is surveillances of people and drug dealers and gang members.
Well, we know Carlo is not a drug dealer and not a gang member, but he's now on those officer sites. He has no clue what's going to happen to him next. So now investigators have that geofencing evidence showing Carlo Fuentes Flores' phone at the crime scene. And they've also got his search history of porn and escorts. But they're after more conclusive proof that he did something to Nancy Woodrum, a DNA match to that bloody pillow.
So we followed him, and he went to a local restaurant, had lunch with his wife, and left a Coke bottle that he drank out of on the table. And when it's in a public place, then we can take it without a warrant.
They retrieved this Coke bottle, they took it to the DNA lab, they had the DNA pulled on it, and it matched the DNA that we had on the pillow.
It's a match. And it's a critical moment in this investigation. Detectives are now closing in on Carlo Fuentes Flores.
So once we received the confirmation that it was Carlo's DNA in the bloody handprint, we needed to talk to Carlo. We needed to hear his side of the story.
Yeah, thank you for being on time.
This is the room where you interrogated Carlo Fuentes.
Yes, it is. This is the room. My partner, Dave, was here with me. I was off to this side.
You're asking him a variety of questions, and in this clip here, you're asking about his job painting at the property.
What exactly were you guys painting? Like the deck, the trim fascia boards?
No, it was the deck.
On the big house?
Yeah, on the big house.
So you then start showing him pictures of the property.
So that's what you consider the big main house?
Yes,
And that's where you did a lot of work, and the deck's back here?
Yes.
And you used the bathroom in there?
There is a bathroom in the main house and down below. And then we use a bathroom in this area right here.
What were you trying to do there?
What we're doing is we're putting him on the property. We wanted to know that he knew where Nancy's studio was.
They're looking for things that person's going to tell them that is not true. And presumably that person has no idea what we know.
Did you know where Nancy stayed?
To be honest, I didn't even know that she was staying in that area.
He was painting for Nancy, and she was nice to him and gave him tamales, and they read scripture together, and then he doesn't know what happened with her.
What have you heard about?
You know what?
What happened to her?
The only stuff I heard, it was from my boss, that she just disappeared and that's it. And then we never heard anything else.
So at this point in the interrogation, he's saying he doesn't know anything about what happened to Nancy. But then you start applying a little more pressure.
Yes, that was a plan of ours.
Please don't take this the wrong way, but are you in any way involved with Nancy missing?
Oh, no.
Any reason why anyone would say that?
Well, because there's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason.
Now they ratchet up the pressure. They let Carlo know they have DNA evidence, and they don't buy his story.
We've done a very thorough investigation. We've spent thousands of hours on this case.
Because we waited for all of the evidence, we were able to say, no, we know you came back.
We know a lot of stuff. We're giving you a chance now to change your story and be honest with us.
Okay.
If you have something else that you'd like to tell us.
At that moment, in my opinion, he knew we knew. It was no longer what do they know, it was, oh no, they know.
And you could see his body change.
Oh my God. I want to be honest with you guys. I know that I made a mistake.
I could literally see my heart beating in my shirt. There's just a million things going through your head.
But they aren't expecting what he says next. Fuentes Flores admits he killed Nancy, but he says it was an accident when he went to the house to retrieve some equipment.
I went back and get one of the ladders I supposed to be getting for the next job.
He said when he went and loaded the ladder up and he was backing up, he didn't know she had walked up behind him and he ran her over.
So you're saying you hit her with your car, your truck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I took her back in the place, and that's when she collapsed.
It was an accident. I hit her. I took her inside to help her. But then you start getting down a road where he probably realized he could only lie so much at that point.
You're not being fully honest. Please tell us what happened.
All right. Okay. So I had sex with her.
This was the first time in the interview when my jaw really hit the floor.
How did you have sex with? Tell me how that transpired.
You know what? I was drunk.
Did she invite you over there, or did you just show up and?
No, I just showed up there and then just to go and get the ladder.
He said no, she didn't know I was coming over, and if we know it was not consensual and it was a rape and she's dead, then we have a special circumstance murder case.
But what they don't know is, where is Nancy?
Can we try and see if we can find where you took her?
You actually bring in an iPad and you're hoping he can point out on a map where you can find Nancy?
Yes.
And instead, this stunning moment when he offers to take you to her body.
He did.
If you guys don't mind, I would like to take you. I would like to take you.
We would like you to do that too.
All right.
When Carlo Fuentes Flores told us that he would take us to Nancy Woodrum's body, we placed him in a car and he directed us due east from the Templeton substation.
So the detectives went in one car and I went in a car right behind them as we drove from Paso Robles. The journey from the police stations was about an hour. It goes from more arable land in Paso Robles to kind of a more desert topography out to the Carrizo Plain, which is just on the border with Kern County.
I'm thinking, wow, that's going to be a tough find. When you have something, even buried something in that area, animals dig it up. So you don't expect a lot.
Carlo Fuentes Flores' demeanor on the ride was very subdued, quiet.
I know that you guys just doing your job, and I wish that I could be forward like a long time ago, and because this time it has been killing me. Like,
You know, the longer we were driving with Carlo, the more frustrating it was becoming. We didn't feel like he was playing games with us, but this is difficult territory to remember anything, and so there was a time where we felt like maybe he wouldn't remember where he put her.
How far off of the road was she?
oh, it was not far, probably like 100 feet. We can check like this area right here.
You think it might be in here?
Sure, we can check on this area.
I think everyone behind us who was following us were like, okay, what's the deal? Can he find her? The anxiety is tremendous.
I was something like this, and I even remember like there was a car coming, and I had to bend down. And then there's gonna be a pile of rocks around her. Can we try a different spot?
Yeah, if you don't,
Right.
I mean, if you don't think it's this one, then, right?
I hadn't brought a jacket, and I remember being so cold, and I remember thinking, how is anybody going to ever find anything in that grass? I remember looking at them just walking in circles, thinking, is Nancy going to be here?
He had stopped at 4 or 5 different locations.
Here, pull over right here.
And we were unable to locate the spot that Carlo said he placed Nancy. I started feeling like he may not be able to remember.
It's like a long ways to bring her.
Yeah.
You think we came this far?
And then we went to the next location, and it looked the same as the first location, which when doubt creeped into my mind again, thinking, how is anybody going to tell this location from the last location?
Was this far in from the road? No, right? It was this far in?
Bunch of rocks down there.
So we stopped about right here. And I looked off over to my right, over this way, and I saw some rocks. Rocks, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches that were kind of stacked in a circle that looked completely out of place. So I turned to Carlo, who was to my left. I said, are those the rocks you're describing? He looked over and said words to the effect, oh my God, yes. He fell to his knees, started crying.
You can stay here with me, okay?
I saw what I believed to be a partial leg bone, about 18 inches or so in length, and some other smaller bones, what looked like some vertebrae bones. I could see a human skull, which was right up into this area. About right here, just laying on the ground.
Quite a few remains fairly close together, but missing a lot. And because of the animal activity in the area, her remains could be scattered for a mile. And it made me feel sad for her family, and knowing that anytime a loved one is missing, just the emotional trauma, but also knowing that she was left in such a remote area by herself in the middle of the night.
It always has bothered me that he didn't even have the courtesy to bury her. I look back over at him and my partner over there. I was angry. This is treacherous wilderness to just leave a body out in the open.
Once he found Nancy's body, his demeanor changed.
Can you do me a big favor? It depends on what it is, Carlo. I wish that you can talk to my little one and tell her that I feel so sorry about this huge mistake I made. Okay. Please do that. Yeah. We can do that.
And I think he knew he wasn't going to go home again. He was emotional. He appeared to be contrite and sad.
I didn't give her a hug this morning.
And once we had that body, my mind immediately went towards, okay, we have to confront him again. What do we need him to say? And what charges do I need to try and prove? And then when we got back to the interview room back an hour later, then he told us what really happened.
I'm not even lying anymore. I'm just being honest with you guys.
I could see a human skull. After we located Nancy Woodrum's remains, we took Carlo back to the Sheriff's North Station in Templeton, where we were hoping to get a complete story about how he killed Nancy Woodrum.
Investigators already know a lot about where Carlo was before Nancy was killed. And that's because of all the tracking they had been doing of his movements.
This animation shows where Carlo was going throughout the day and evening.
Yes, he's now traveling up to Paso Robles, and there's a church in a commercial building.
Wait, Carlo goes to church on the night Nancy disappeared?
Yes, church was not in session because it's almost midnight, but yes, he pulls into the parking lot and he stays there for 20-30 minutes.
He was sitting there in a church parking lot, chilling evidence as he's probably pondering whether he's going to go to Nancy's or not.
And now he's way out here on Highway 46, headed towards Nancy's house.
So his phone is pinging along the way, and that's what's sort of drawing out this map and showing all of his movements that night.
That's correct. You'll see the little dots there. He's getting closer to Nancy's residence. So 14 minutes after midnight was the last location data that Google got. The reason that is so important at midnight 14 is a 911 call was attempted at midnight 17. When we got back to the Sheriff's North Station, we went into the same interrogation room and began questioning Carlo again.
So you went into through the sliding glass door? Yes, that's when they went inside.
He finally admitted what we had suspected. He came into Nancy's house around 12:15 in the morning.
Where was she? Where was she? Was she in bed?
Oh yeah, she was on bed.
Was she awake?
Yeah.
She saw you come in?
No.
And then he starts telling a different version about what happened. The real story?
Yes.
She just asked me like, who are you?
And what happened?
They started having sex with her.
He admitted that he went there with the intention of wanting or going to have sex with her.
And Carlo tells you that he believed Nancy had been flirting with him.
She offered him some tamales, and he took it as flirting, which seemed very, very odd.
It was just something like she was being nice with me, and probably that I took it wrong way.
He hit her to wake her up, which confirmed the blood spatter on the dresser and the walls, and he raped her.
So you intended to kill her so that you didn't get caught for the rape, right?
Yes.
He goes on to admit that he suffocated Nancy with a pillow?
Yes, he did.
After you finished having sex with her, how long did it take you to put the pillow over her face?
45 minutes. She didn't suffer. It was so quick.
He admitted to raping her, to smothering her to death, but for some reason, he wouldn't admit that he hung up the 911 call.
And you're sure that when you came in, she didn't try and dial 911 and you took the phone away from her?
You know what? I don't remember. I don't think she did. Yeah, I don't think she tried.
Are you really sure?
I mean, I was drunk and to be honest, I don't remember. I don't remember that part.
How long were you in her house for?
I was at 40 minutes. Yeah.
And what did you do during those 40 minutes after you had sex with her?
I went to put it back on the truck, on the tailgate, and I just drove away.
The bedding that was found on the side of La Panza Road, Carlo confirmed with us that he had wrapped Nancy Woodrum's body up in some of that bedding, that was what blew out of his pickup as he was driving out to the Carrizo Plains.
Is this the entire truth?
Yes, I'm not even lying anymore. I'm just being honest with you guys. Now I have to pay the consequences.
It appeared that he was sad that this had happened and that his confession was cathartic in a way and was bringing him some degree of peace.
Would you be willing to write like an apology letter to Nancy's children and grandkids?
And at the end of the interview, he actually wrote an apology letter to Nancy's family and an apology to his own family within that same letter. And once he wrote the apology letter, the detectives placed him under arrest.
You were under arrest for murder.
What was that like?
It was a huge relief. This clip brings back, a lot of memories of, at that moment, justice is going to be served for Nancy Woodrum.
I could still see the emotion in your eyes.
This was just a really sad case. This case was just a little more personal for me.
Detective Cole presents to you a photograph and a name. Carlo Fuentes Flores.
Okay.
I was like, who?
Like who?
Who?
Who's this?
We had no idea who it was.
How could it possibly be the painter?
Right. It kind of just opened up more questions. Like Aaron said, why? Just, why?
They found her body. What is going through your mind?
I think there was relief. I just wanted to find her. We needed to have some closure. There's a lot of people who never get answers. And I was just thankful that we had answers.
I mean, it's the worst case scenario, but knowing that we found her and she's not suffering anymore, that was a comfort. But it's still something that's it's a hard pill to swallow.
It's one of those quiet moments where you start to cry and just, she just got so cheated. Finally got a chance to relax and do what she wants and retire, and then this happens to her. I just thought, how very, very unfair.
Now, all that remains is a trial. Prosecutors decide not to go for the death penalty, but they're confident they've got a winning case. Now, the defense has something in store, and if the judge buys it, everything could totally unravel.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from
Carlo.
an inmate at the San Luis Obispo jail.
Hello? Hello, Crystal?
Carlo?
Yes.
I was responsible for monitoring any jail phone calls that took place involving Carlo Fuentes Flores. The ones that were of particular interest would have been the phone calls with his wife, Crystal.
Did you do this, Carlo?
Yes, honey, I'm so sorry. I don't
Why?
know. I don't know why that day. That wasn't even me. I was drunk.
Yeah, I know, Carlo, but
They're gonna find
you did
people that working on
you
that
did
stuff.
like the worst thing in the whole world.
I know.
You did
But,
a couple of bad things mixed together, which is just crazy. Crazy.
Despite the compelling evidence from the confession in Fuentes Flores' police interview and admissions to his wife in recorded jail calls, he pleads not guilty. And his defense attorney has a strategy that could upend the case.
The defense team presented a very spirited defense centered on a motion to suppress his recorded interview. Carlo spoke English with his wife. He spoke fantastic English, but he was a native Spanish speaker. And so the defense challenged that the Miranda warnings should have been given in Spanish, or he should have had an interpreter present.
We wanted him to understand and make sure that he understood what he was doing. And so we had set it up. Do you understand what I'm saying? If there's at any point you don't, please ask.
If you have any questions, the way I say stuff, the way I ask you stuff, please tell me. It's
All right.
I know it's something that I do. It's probably not you, but as long as you can understand me, if you don't, just let me know, okay?
All right.
Ultimately, the judge denied the defense's motion to suppress and found that the detectives preserved his rights and that they properly Mirandized him and interviewed him in English.
He confessed, and then we were able to find her, and then thought, okay, we're done. Like, this is the end. But no, now there's going to be a huge trial.
So this case is set for trial in January 2022. And we show up for day one, and I see his attorney go and speak with him. And his attorney comes back and he says, well, he wants to just plead to life without parole. He doesn't want to put his family through the publicity of a trial.
Normally, in a plea deal, the defendant waives his right to an appeal. But Fuentes Flores wants to preserve his right. So the judge proposes something called a slow plea. The prosecutor will still be able to present the evidence, but in the end, the judge is going to find Fuentes Flores guilty on all charges.
So the judge reviewed all of the evidence I submitted, and I submitted his recorded interviews, his jail calls. I wanted to make sure everything was in there just in case. And the judge found him guilty of first-degree murder and the special circumstance that the murder was committed during a rape.
The man who killed a Paso Robles woman and led investigators to her body will spend life in prison. He was found guilty of killing Woodrum during a rape and burglary, which means he isn't eligible for parole.
He was given an appropriate sentence in prison, so I think in that way that justice was served, although the family will truly never have closure as a result of what took place.
What about the family?
What about what?
Their family. Yeah, their family.
I know.
They're never going to get to see her again. It's just so stupid. So stupid, so senseless.
Aaron, you read the victim impact statement in court, what did you and your family want to say to Carlo?
Just let him know how he changed our lives. You know, not the fact that he took her life for nothing. Just to let him know that it sickened us and what was the point. You know, because now he's going to live behind bars for the rest of his life for one foolish night.
People, I feel, remember Nancy as a strong woman with the biggest heart. She survived a lot of heartaches, and it made her stronger, but it made her heart beautiful. The memorial was probably the most beautiful thing. It was out at a vineyard on the way out to Nancy's property. It's a beautiful place. There was hundreds of people there, and it was just a testament to the person that she was.
These photographs were all displayed at your mother's memorial, right?
Yes. They really show who she was. She loved outdoors, she loved the horses, she loved being in the barn, going camping with the grandkids. She was an amazing person. She loved God. She wanted that to be first in her life, and she wanted people to know that. And her hope that she had to see her kids again. This is the horse that my mom used to ride. Her name is Montana. She loved Montana. My daughter and I now go out on the horses together. And I usually ride Montana, and my daughter rides Fire, so we've passed that down. What I once did with my mom, now I do with my daughter, and that's a good feeling. She was a huge part of our life. She was my best friend. We did everything together. Every time I ride, I think of my mom.
Carrying on that beautiful tradition, David. Detective Clint Cole says he still feels a connection to Nancy's case and keeps in touch with her daughter Amanda, reaching out to her on May 5th of every year, the anniversary of Nancy's death.
We should also point out tonight, Deborah, that Carlo Fuentes Flores appealed his conviction. It was denied by the California Court of Appeals in July of 2023. That's our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm David Muir.
And I'm Deborah Roberts. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
पवे निंदो सीने अंदर दाग सजंदा याद पवे निंदो सजना गल लावे मिलिए सजना गल लाला मिलिए करिए वे दूर चंदेनू दिल दा मैरम ना कोई मिलिया मैं मस्कीन बंदेनू दिल दा मैरम ना कोई मिलिया मैं मस्कीन बंदेनू बुलबुल में रोंदी वेखी एक बुलबुल में रोंदी वेखी कर कर याद बहारा कर कर याद बहारा किसे के आना रोनी बुलबुल फिर खिलसन गुलजारा किसे के आना रोनी बुलबुल फिर खिलसन गुलजारा जिनावे दुखां विच दिल भर राजी सुख दयो ना तुम्हारे दुख वे कबूल मोहम्मद बख्शा राजी रहन प्यारे दुख कबूल मोहम्मद बख्शा राजी रहन प्यारे जिस रस्ते पर दिल भर होवे जिस रस्ते पर दिल भर होवे मिलिया बाज न जाना मिलिया बाज न जाना सोने सोने मिलन हजारा असानी यार बचाना सोने सोने मिलन हजारा असानी यार बचाना आसां दी गलियां मवे आगे आसां दी गलियां मवे आगे जीवे मुनासिब करनी मीठी खीर पकावे मोहम्मद कुते आया गे धरनी मीठी वे खीर पकायो मोहम्मद कुते आया गे धरनी बच गई शीशी अतरा वाली भज गई शीशी अतरा वाली ना जुड़नी ना भरनी अखियां दा जद नूर ना रेया फेर किए लग करनी अखियां दा जद नूर ना रेया फेर के लग करनी सामने चढ़िया जोर लगाया ओ सामने दाने रे गई जवानी आए बड़े माँ कोई नहीं लगी दाने रे माटी दा कब पानी देना भर भर मशीना दे भर भर मशीना दे मालिक जाना पले फुले गाना गावे आना गावे मालिक जाना पले फुले गाना गावे आना गावे गावे आना गावे गावे आना गावे गावे